Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to connect your PLC, be it S7-1200, S7-1500 to an industrial edge device. Again, it can be a physical device like an IPC 1270, 2270, or a virtual device, so an industrial edge virtual device running as a virtual machine. It doesn't really matter here. We'll be using the S7 protocol with the S7 connector to grab the data from the PLC and get it inside the industrial edge device. First thing you need to know before you start is what's the IP address of your industrial edge device to access it. Now you could go and connect a monitor to your device to check it. You could check your DHCP server. You could just remember what it is. But the easiest way to do it is if you just log in to your industrial edge management system and go to edge devices inside the IEM app, so on port 9443 if you have an IP based system, and just go to your device. It tells you, even on this previous screen, it tells you the address of your device, and if you click it, you can actually click the link and it will take you to your device. Now if you're just going by memory and you're punching in the IP address, it doesn't work. One thing to make sure you are trying to access it on HTTPS, so using TLS encryption. If you try HTTP, it's not going to work. So make sure that before your IP address or before the name of the device, you have HTTPS and not HTTP. Okay, so I'm now logged in into my device. I can actually log back out. So this is where you would be taken if you just punched in the address or click the link that I have. Then we log in with the credentials. So these are the credentials we selected when onboarding the industrial edge device. If your device isn't onboarded yet, check the video. I'm going to put the link above me here on how to onboard an IPC 1270, but the same applies to any other industrial edge device really. Okay, so we have a device, we have no apps. What apps are we going to need to get the data over S7 protocol? Well, you might guess we're going to need an S7 connector. So if we go back to the management, we go back to the catalog, we'll need the S7 connector installed on our IPC 1270 to get the data from the S7-1500 in my case. But what's then going to happen? Well, if you look at this diagram, we are going to grab the data from the S7 PLC using the S7 connector. Then this data will land on a device-wide broker, and a Mosquito broker, an MQTT broker called Databus. So we need also the Databus. Then we can start grabbing the data from there. If you want to do something clever yourself, you could be using applications like the Flow Creator. And we're going to use Flow Creator to just do some diagnostics, to check everything is working correctly. But generally speaking, you would be using data service. So data service is a storage solution. It's a database on the industrial edge, and we'll install the data service. We'll then subscribe to the data landing on the databus, and we'll decide how long we want to hold it. Then we'll have historical data, so we can actually use other applications that can benefit from historical data, like Performance Insight, to calculate OEEs, KPIs, generate dashboards and reports. Or maybe if you're interested in energy, we could install Energy Manager and look at how much it costs you to run your plant. Okay, so if you go back to our device, we can see that, the S7 connector is now getting installed. So we also, I said, need the databus. So IE Databus to be installed on the IPC 1270 device. Then we need the data service. Again, installed on the IPC 1270. And then let's say Performance Insight. Now if you go back here, the applications start popping. Here, it will take a moment for them to install because they need to be copied from my industrial edge management system. Now, depending where you run it, what connectivity you have, how many devices you're running, how many devices you're installing to, this might take longer or it might take shorter. But just wait for it, wait for all these applications to install. So the very minimum to get maybe some dashboards going, we would need the S7 connector to establish S7 connection, Databus to publish this data onto, so we have real-time data there, data service to subscribe and have historical data, and then on top of it, we are going to add performance insights so we can quickly create some nice dashboard displaying this data. Okay, so we are nearly there, okay? It's just a performance insight that's still getting installed. Actually, we don't really need it. We can already start. So we'll need to do some configuration. Like I said, the database is like the central place for exchanging information as of today. So we need to configure it. We need to actually add some users. So if we go to data connections on our management system, we go to management app and then we go to data connections. Here we'll be able to configure the databus. If you're not seeing the databus configurator here, or you're not seeing the S7 connector configurator here, we need both, then you need to go back to your IEM OS, yeah, so the IP address of your actual IEM, not the application, not port 9443. So you need to go back here and make sure that it is installed, yeah? So if it's not showing here, so you don't have my databus configurator and you don't have common connector configurator for S7, this means that these are not installed. So you need to go to catalog, and here in the catalog, you need to install the databus configurator, yeah? So if it wasn't installed, you get an option here, and the same for common connector configurator. Oh, I have an update. So once this is resolved, if you had a problem like this, you can now go back and we can go and configure the IE Databus. So we select the device which we'd like to configure the databus on. It's going to pull the current configuration. As you can see, I have nothing. I'm going to now create a new user with a username and password that I can remember, yeah? And I'm going to give this user access to any topic under IE. Yeah, so if you know about MQTT, you know that a hash is a wildcard. That means anything, any topic under IE, this user will have access to. And I'm saying they will be able to publish data and also subscribe data. Yeah, it's not just send data, but also see what is happening on this topic. Yeah. Now, if you are a bit more security conscious than I am in this short demo video, you might want to create, more users with specific access rights, so that maybe you have an S7 connector specific user that can only publish on the S7 connected topics. But for me, I'm just going to add this one. Yeah, so add it, and I need to deploy this configuration. If you don't deploy, nothing's going to change. Deploy is like a save. So you're saying, okay, take this configuration that you created, package it, and send it to the specific edge device. Because if you remember, we are changing this configuration centrally on the industrial edge management, so we need to package it and send it to the specific edge device. This takes a moment. Okay, configuration is deployed successfully. Now, how would we check if this works? Where I haven't installed Flow Creator. If we had installed Flow Creator, then we could just try accessing the databus with this user and their password. If you want, I might actually make another video on it, but yeah, this is how you would test it. I'm just going to assume that it works. So I have configured the databus. What I now want to configure is I want to configure my S7 connection. Okay, so again, I'm firing up the S7 connector on this specific edge device. And again, I have nothing. So I need to configure a new data source. It's going to be using the optimized S7 protocol. The S7 protocol, the non-optimized, is when you take the put-get, the allow put-get communication on your PLC, or if you're using the S7-300, 400, I think it's enabled there by default. Okay, a PLC name. I'm just going to call it my PLC. I'm using a 1500. the IP address. I think that's it. And I'm not using any security. If you had enabled, certificates, then you would need to load them here. And if you had enabled the protection inside your PLC, then you can enter the password here. I haven't done either. Okay, so now I can browse for my PLC. Browsing basically will try to pull all the tags on my PLC. Now you might ask, wonder, what are you running? I'm just running a demo project. I'll actually put the link in the description below, but it's just a demo project from Siemens GitHub. Yeah, it's a project where visualization, it's like a bottle filling application. So you have bottles, you have a tank. First the tank is filled, then it's heated, and then it starts filling and shifting the bottles. When it's empty, it starts again. It's nice because it just produces you some fake data. So it's nice for testing. As you can see, this browsing tends to take a while. This will depend on your PLC. Yeah, so more beefy PLC will return the tag list faster, quicker, and it also depends on the amount of tags. So if you have loads of tags, it can actually take a few minutes. Yeah, as you can see, it says 6 tags found. Yeah, this would indicate that we have more than 6 tags, and it will only try and read the first 6,000. So if you need more, this is when you would start filtering and searching by a specific data block. So maybe all your edge related data is in this GDB block, then you can do a rebrowse, and it's just going to browse for this block. So you can then have, let's say, 6,000 tags just in this one block. So clearly I don't have 6,000 tags in this data block. I have 57. So how would I go about actually adding them to my configuration? Let's add some actual level, or not external signals. So actual level, actual pressure, actual temperature. And I want to grab these every 250 milliseconds. I'm just going to be reading them. So add the tags. And as you can see, now they are added to this list here. But this still means nothing. To actually save this configuration, you need to deploy it to your edge device. But you need to make sure that the tags you want to be deployed are ticked. Yeah? So if I don't take this one, only these 2 tags get deployed. Okay, so I want to deploy all of them. What you need to make sure before you hit deploy is that you actually provided the username and password for the databus here. So we have just configured it a moment ago. I hope you still remember it. So let's punch them here and save. One more thing, if this times out tells you something like browse timeout, you can adjust it here. So by default, after 2 minutes, it will time out. If you have loads and loads of tags, especially using OPC way, actually, this might time out before 2 minutes. So you might want to extend it to 10 minutes if it does time out. If it doesn't, just forget about it. Okay. Yeah, okay. So now it's fine, and we can deploy our configuration. We need to again select the device to which we want to deploy. So I'm deploying to my 127E, hit deploy. And again, this might take a couple of minutes. The reason why it takes a while, and it always takes a while, is here in the settings. You can actually adjust these edge management notification timers. What this means is every 1 minute, your edge device asks the management, do you have any jobs for me? Yeah. So this will always be extending it by a bit. You can change it, but the fastest you can do is 10 seconds. And you know what, the big picture, it doesn't really matter. Still, these things do take a moment. And yeah, you just do it once really, and then once it's running, it's fine. So we deploy the configuration. This still does not work. We still need to start it. So we start our project. And there you go, our project is now started. This means good. This means that these details are correct, and our S7 connector was able to connect to the databus. This is good. This means that it was also able to connect to our PLC, but we also kind of verified this by being able to browse. Yes, browse is actually a way for you to make sure that the details you put here are correct, because you could also manually add these tags if you wanted. Now these tags, they are not that relevant. All they mean is that these tags were deployed. So you remember A moment ago, I ticked all of them. If I didn't tick the middle one, it wouldn't have the tick. Now, how would we check if this actually works? I mean, there is a tick here, should be fine. How would we check it? Normally, I would say Configurator is a great place to start. Unfortunately, on the 127E, we might struggle to fit the Configurator in here. There are some alternatives, but there is also a tool inbuilt in Edge. So if you go to here, so again, data connections on your IEM, and we go to, I'm clearly blind at Databus, fire up again the Databus Configurator. Here we have the live view, yeah? So here we can just press this plus and add the topics that we'd like to monitor. Now, in the previous step, we only had this. So we had the IE/hash, yeah, defined here in the user view. In the meantime, I added this predefined topic. So IE/D/J, SIMATIC v1, S7-C1, so S7 connector 1, data points, read the name of my PLC. So this comes from this, and then default. The reason is still this live view is not able to pick up data and topics if you just have this, so IE and then wildcard. I've been told this is going to be fixed, so it might be that when you're watching this video, this actually works for you. If it doesn't, if you add this and it doesn't show you any topics, anything like this, make sure to go to the user view, to your users, add a new topic, and this topic IE/D/J, SIMATIC, blah blah, the name of your connection and default, and this is for the S7 connector, yeah, and then deploy it. And then if you go to live view, you can add this predefined topic. You actually would be then able to also add the IE/hash and get this from the list. You start the monitoring, and this works in a simplistic way, but gets the job done generally. So when a new data point is published, this should go into active. This will mean that, hey, there is a message on IE/D/J. There you go. So it takes a moment, but there you go. We clearly received the message. Unfortunately, we don't know what this message is. We can just see, yeah, there was a message published a few seconds ago. So that's good enough for us. It means it should work. If you want to see what this message was and so on, then like I said, Configurator is a good tool, or a generic, MQTT client of some sort. Okay, so what can we do with this now? If we go back to our device, we installed this data service, yeah? And data service is configured from the device itself. So we can go here to the data service, and then we can go to connectors. We are using the S7 connector, so we can enable it. Again, we need to define the username and password to access the databus. So these can be the same ones you defined before, or they could be a new one, a new user if you want to create them specifically for this application. We save, and then we hope that we get status active and status connected. If you provided wrong username and password, or something is wrong, it will give you a, generally speaking, a good message telling you, hey, the password is incorrect. So we can then go to here, and we can either add one variable, or we can add multiple variables. Yeah, if you add multiple variables, you select a connector and you can tick them. So I have 3, that's all good. Or 1, you can just go one by one, choose the variable, and then it gives you a bit more control over, do you want to change the name? Do you want to change how long it's stored? Or do you maybe want to define some aggregation? So also actually maybe calculate, an hour average for this variable, yeah? I'm not going to be doing this. I just want to add the actual level. Now using the other option, I'm going to add the other 2. As you can see, it's connected. And if I click on preview data, I should just see my historical data. So that's it. We grab the data from an S7-1500 PLC using the S7 connector. This got published onto the databus, and then we subscribe to this data with data service. Now we could add performance inside, and maybe let's just do it very quickly. I don't want to spend too much time. This video will still be too long already, but just to show you my dashboard, yeah, and I here will already be able to, I don't know, gauge. Yeah, let's do a gauge, my gauge, interval 1, and then I want to get the actual maybe a level. No aggregations, so let's do last here. Low limit, what can the level be? I have no idea. Pick probably the worst case, but hey, there you go. And then I can just make it bigger. Yeah, so there you go. The most awful gauge that you probably have seen. But again, we grabbed the data from the 1500 using the S7 protocol, using the S7 connector, published it on the databus on our edge device, on the IPC 127E, and then subscribed to this data using data service to get historical data. As you can see, we are getting historical data. And then we also use this historical data in here in performance insight to get the gauge readings from, I don't know, the last 3 hours. Maybe that's a bad choice, but there you go. We can zoom in and there you go. We have historical data. We can start building dashboards, creating reports, calculating KPIs, whatever it is that your plan is, you can just do it. If you have any more questions about this or anything else, just let me know in the comments below. Thanks, bye.